Hi, I know a lot of you have been waiting for me to make a video clearing things up, and I'm sorry it took so long. I've just been recovering from a lot of things that have happened to me over the past month, and I've been needing to take a lot of time to seek legal advice and also gather all the accurate information, because a lot of the things being said about me are so untrue and damaging. I hope you can all watch the video until the end before you make any further comments or judgments. I'm going to be using this video to address a lot of the rumors that are going on around about me. I already made my own statement on Twitter as early as I could because I wasn't strong enough physically or mentally after personal events to make a video statement about everything. However, in that statement that I made on Twitter is the only true information. And it seems like a lot of people maybe didn't understand what I meant to say or misunderstood things and are still believing a lot of things about me and saying things about me that just are not true. So I do feel like making a video to help clear things up is the right thing to do. I also feel like due to the rumors going around, I'm going to have to talk about a lot of private matters, not only relating to my life, but also to the relationship I had with Jorge. I wish I didn't have to, but I'd honestly rather do it than let false information spread. I want you all to know also that I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for anything really. I just want to put an honest end to things so that we can move on from this. I'm also going to make this as easy and simple to understand as I can so that everything gets cleared up a little bit easier. Before I say anything though, I do want to say that I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. This whole situation has been so messy, and I'm sorry if it's been confusing to some of you and if it's disappointed a lot of you. I'm sorry I got caught up in such a messed up situation that I never wanted to be part of. And I hope that with this video, I can build back some of your trust, your friendship, and some of your support. And to everyone who's been waiting for me to get better and believing me and supporting me this whole time, it really means so much to me, so I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. Firstly, in regards to everything on, I want to be very, very clear that the things people are accusing me of and calling me are so untrue. It's so hard to see people say these things about me and call me these words, and it's just damaging because they are untrue. Anyone saying that I admitted to these things is spreading a false narrative because I never did. I do understand though that it is partly my fault because I maybe didn't make my Twitter statement easy to understand, but I promise you, I never admitted to doing those things. Please look up the words you use before you use them because misusing words such as grooming is extremely harmful. Secondly, it's important for you to know that the guy who made these accusations not only lied, but made fake screenshots and spread a false story. And the main accusation is just untrue. I'll be getting into the real story behind everything and what the truth is later on and how this person lied, and I will also back up everything with proof. Before I get into the story though, I do want to make one point very clear from the beginning. When I first began speaking to this guy, we had maybe 1 or 2 FaceTime calls and didn't really text that much. During one of these FaceTime calls, the topic of him having a famous birthdays came up. So I obviously searched up his famous birthdays and saw that on it said he was 15 years old. I asked him about it and he said that it was a mistake on famous birthdays part and that he was actually 16 and he was trying to get the website to fix it. I don't know if you know, but we actually live in Spain, and here in Spain the legal age of consent is 16 years old, and in the rest of Europe it is about the same as well. I also have screenshots of him continuing this narrative that he was 16 years old, as you can see in these screenshots here, where he was telling me about something and mentioned that he was 15. I asked him, don't you mean 16? Because that's what he had told me in the earlier FaceTime call, and he insisted that he was 16. This Instagram account is one that he used, but has since deactivated. So I still have the DMs, but at the top it does say Instagrammer because he deactivated his account. I had no reason to believe he was lying about his age because I thought he was just being honest with me. But now looking back on that, I should have known better, and I know now that that was a mistake. Over the past few weeks where I have been gathering information, I did find out that he had in fact been lying to me and that at the time he was 15 years old. I'm not saying any of this to shift the blame to anyone. I just wanted to make it clear from the very beginning that the main accusation he made against me is just false. Not only because he lied about his age, but also because of how he lied about the story. I'm about to get into a lot of detail regarding the story of knowing this person and everything that went on with this person, so it is going to be detailed. So there's also going to be some very triggering subjects that come up, which will then mean that there's triggering words. So if you're going to keep watching, I want to let you know just to please be careful and be wary of what I'm going to be talking about. Back at the end of 2019, Jorge began speaking with a TikToker. Not a fan, not some random follower, a TikToker. This person also had a large platform at the time, which is why Jorge found his account so easily and followed him, and they followed each other back. I knew that they were friends, but I didn't really know much about their friendship or the things that they would talk about. I just knew that they were friends. A couple months into 2020 though, this guy DM'd me on an Instagram account that he's since deactivated. Like I said before, I still have all the Instagram DMs, just it says Instagrammer at the top because his account is deactivated. When he DM'd me, I answered him, obviously, because he was a friend of Jorge's and I didn't want to be rude to him. However, over time, I didn't really answer his messages that much and kind of forgot to answer him because I didn't really have much in common with him and didn't really see that we could be friends. He seemed to get kind of annoyed with this or frustrated by the fact I wasn't answering him. So one day he just sent me his number, and feeling bad because I wasn't answering his messages, and not to be rude, I messaged him back over text, so he was able to get my phone number. Over the few conversations we had over text and on Instagram DMs, he would constantly kind of shift the conversation and he would start speaking very flirtatiously and sexually. I didn't really think much of it when he did do this because I thought he was just joking around and wasn't being serious, so I mostly just ignored it and didn't play part. However, he did admit to shifting the conversation this way, as you can see in these screenshots, where he admitted that he would shift the conversation to be kind of sexual in a way. During one of the FaceTime calls we had, he also mentioned to me that he was on an app called Grindr, where he would send explicit photos with very overage men and speak sexually with them. On that FaceTime call, I told him he shouldn't be doing that because being on an app like that when you're not over 18 is very unsafe, especially if you're new to it. And that, like I said, he shouldn't even be on the app because it was 18 plus. When I told him this, he kind of just ignored me and just kept talking about it. He would also message me a lot of times complaining about these guys that he would talk about on Grindr. And every time he did, I told him the same thing. He shouldn't be complaining because he shouldn't even be on the app. One day, I received a text message from Jorge of a screenshot from a FaceTime call he was having with this guy. In it, he also told me that this guy had told him he wanted to do things with me. When I first saw this, I wasn't surprised that he had told Jorge this because of the way he had already been speaking to me. But it was weird hearing that Jorge was telling me this and that he was telling Jorge this. So when I received the message, I kind of just shifted the conversation to a TikTok that Jorge had sent me that he had filmed before. In the Twitter statement that this guy made, however, he showed some messages from Jorge where Jorge told him that I had responded and said I wanted to do things with him as well. But as you just saw in my screenshots, I never said that. I never said anything of the sort, and I want to be clear that I never did say anything like that. One day while I was working out, I received a group FaceTime call from Jorge and this guy. When I saw them calling me, I didn't think anything of it and just answered. Immediately when I answered, Jorge began telling me that this guy had told him that he wanted to see me naked, and then started asking me to get naked. When he told me this, I didn't know what to think, so I just acted as if he said nothing and started speaking to the other guy as normal, and ignoring Jorge the whole time while he kept pressuring me to get naked. Eventually, Jorge got annoyed by this and ended the FaceTime call. And so after that, I just hung up from the group FaceTime call and went to work out some more. After working out, I went and called Jorge back and explained to him that it made me uncomfortable that he was talking to me in that way, especially in front of someone else, and that I didn't like it at all. He told me he was just joking around and that it was just for fun and wasn't serious, so I let that slide. And now I know I should not have. Later on, after that conversation, Jorge asked me to get nude for him. I did because we were in a relationship and because I trusted him. But what I didn't know is that he had been screenshotting the FaceTime call and taking pictures and sending them to this guy afterwards. I didn't know that he had done this until the statement actually came out on Twitter. But after reading it, I wasn't surprised at all that he would do something like that because it was normal behavior for him. Well, not normal, it was just something he did constantly, sending nude photos of me without my permission or consent to tons of people in the past, even after I explained to him many times that it made me uncomfortable, especially since they were private photos just for him. I don't know if you remember, but back at the end of January or beginning of February, we unfollowed each other on every social media platform basically, and that's because I had blocked him because I didn't want to speak to him because I found out that he had done this again. Obviously, after that, I did forgive him, and I want all of you to know that I just want to leave all of this in the past. So I forgive him for doing those things and sending those things. I know he probably didn't understand why it made me feel uncomfortable, but I don't want any of you to be angry with him because I'm not angry with him either, and I just want to leave it in the past. Several days later, over FaceTime, I was speaking with Jorge, and he told me that this guy and him had decided that they wanted to have a group FaceTime call where things were sexual. I told him no, that it's not something I wanted to be a part of because I had already been uncomfortable with the previous situation, and he told me that I should just think about it and talk to him later. I also just found these messages between Jorge and me where he showed me a screenshot where he told the guy that I had wanted to do things with him, and I never said those things. And you can see that I'm confused why he said that and why he sent that to him, because I never told him that I wanted to do those things. So later on, I texted him and told him, obviously, it was just weird and I didn't want to be a part of it. You can also see in these messages that we were both referring to him as 16 years old because we were both convinced by him that he was 16 years old, which I again remind you is the legal age of consent in Spain and about the same in the rest of Europe. After this text conversation, I called him because he didn't really seem to be understanding why it was making me uncomfortable, and I explained to him why I wouldn't want to do something like that, and that I didn't want to take part. Immediately after I told him no, he got angry and hung up and started ignoring my text messages. That in general made me extremely anxious because it was common for him in the past when we weren't together physically and only had online forms of communication that if he got angry, he would block me and not talk to me for days. And so obviously I didn't want to live through that again because I didn't want to not be able to speak to him for days. So I called him back and apologized to him and told him I would take part as long as I could speak to the other person first. I thought that although it made me uncomfortable and it just felt wrong to me and made me feel disgusted, I knew it wasn't illegal, or I thought at the time it wasn't illegal because he had told us that he was 16 years old. And I thought that as long as the other person was fine with it, and as long as it made Jorge happy, I would take part. Later on, we got onto a group FaceTime call. And immediately on the FaceTime call, just as the previous one, Jorge began trying to get me to get naked. I ignored him and started speaking normally with the other guy. I then went on pause from the FaceTime call and began texting Jorge, telling him he was making me feel uncomfortable again, because obviously I didn't want to take part in this, and that I didn't want the other guy to feel uncomfortable either. He told me that this guy had told him that he wanted to take part and to ask him myself. So I went back onto the FaceTime call and asked him. He told me that yes, it was partly his idea and that he wanted it to happen and that he honestly didn't care. So after that conversation and persistent pressuring from Jorge, I did eventually give in. After the FaceTime call though, I hung up and just felt so disgusting and anxious because of how the situation had made me. So I decided to go on a walk to try and clear my mind with my dogs. And I called a friend and explained to her everything that was going on and the whole situation at hand and how it made me so anxious just because I didn't want to take part. So after an hour of just walking my dogs and talking to her, she made me feel a little better and reassured me on some things, but I still was just not feeling okay. Later on that night, I received some messages from the guy, which were just extremely inappropriate and unwanted, especially because of how the situation had made me feel. But I get why he thought he could send those messages because of everything that had happened. So I didn't answer him and just let it go. A couple days later, I messaged him on text message saying sorry because I just felt horrible about the situation. And I was going to send a paragraph afterwards. But my message didn't deliver, and he had told me when my messages didn't deliver that I should DM him on Twitter. So I went onto my second Twitter account and DM'd him saying sorry and that I hoped he didn't feel pressured into anything and that I just felt horrible about everything. And I also told him it would probably be best for us to stop speaking since the whole friendship thing with this guy had just gotten so weird and it's not something that I wanted to be part of anymore. He messaged me back and told me that he didn't care, it was fine, that it was something he wanted to take part in and enjoyed, and as you saw in those messages before, that's something he wanted to do again. He also asked me if we could still be friends. So, not to be rude and not to just end a friendship so abruptly, I told him we could stay friends, but a FaceTime call like that would just never happen again. I no longer have access to those messages anymore because I deleted that Twitter account maybe 3 months ago. But what I do have is that when my message on text of the sorry eventually delivered and he received it, he messaged me back kind of mocking me because he didn't care about the situation and just made fun of me for making sorry, and obviously didn't think of it as something as serious as I was taking it. After that, we didn't speak for a while, but we did eventually start speaking on Instagram DMs again, and he asked me why I was so okay with the FaceTime call. I told him that the only reason I did it was because of Jorge. Later on into that conversation, he told me about a crush that he had, and I started helping him with it and told him that he should just be honest with them, express his feelings to them, and just be open, and to just do that. Immediately after I started telling him this, he started being very flirtatious with me and kind of sexual, and he even sent me an unsolicited nude photo. At first he told me he was going to send a nude photo and then sent a picture. I thought that he was just joking around because it was a common joke with a lot of my friends where we say we're going to send a nude photo and then a picture is sent and then it ends up just being a meme or a selfie, just as a joke. So I thought it was going to be that, but then I opened it and no, it was actually a nude photo. So I didn't know how to react to that, so I just laughed it off and ended the conversation kind of like that. And after that, I just didn't speak to him for a long time because I didn't want to speak to him that way. After that, we again didn't speak for a long time. But in his Twitter statement, he said that I eventually asked him for his Snapchat. And he showed these messages. He also said that on Snapchat, I spoke to him very inappropriately. However, the messages he showed are completely fake. And as you can see, these are the real messages. And as you can see, he was insisting on me adding him on Snapchat. And I was just joking around and avoiding it because I didn't want to add him back on Snapchat. Eventually, though, he showed me that he had already added me back and found my Snapchat. So I was like, fine, I'll just add him on Snapchat. It can't be that bad. On Snapchat, though, I never spoke to him in the way that he says I did. After I added him back, we began speaking about my hair, and I was playing around with filters which changed my hair color because on the text messages, we had been talking about me dyeing my hair. Except after that conversation had ended, he began telling me he was horny and asked me for nude photos. He even sent me an unsolicited nude photo, once again, himself. After that, I just said no and stopped answering him. He responded by blocking me on Snapchat, which I responded by just blocking him back. That's when I decided I was going to end any conversations with him and not speak to him anymore. Because, like I said before, the friendship was just weird and I didn't want that sort of friendship with him. Over time, he tried to message me on Instagram several times, but I never answered him, and the last time we ever spoke was him congratulating me on 10 million on TikTok and me saying thank you. I'm sorry about the lighting change. I've just been trying to film this all day, and so now the sun's setting, so I'm losing the natural light, and so I just wanted to let you know why the lighting's changing. I know there was a lot of detail in that story, and I'm sorry about that. I just thought I ought to explain the full story in full detail because I just felt like it was necessary. And I hope you can now all see how much was just manipulated and untrue about the original story you were all told and ended up in believing. Throughout the time I have been gathering information, I came into contact with one of the friends of the guy through Twitter. About a week ago, a new account popped up with a new thread, and they were saying that they were the original guy from the accusations. And they were trying to fix things and saying that they had lied about the majority of things and showing proof of this. When I first saw the account, I thought it was real because everything that they were saying was true, and all the screenshots they were providing were real conversations between me and this guy. I later found out, though, through my own contacts, and which the original account later confirmed, that this account was not him. But I did find out through my contacts that he did suspect that it was one of his friends, since he had sent those exact screenshots to a lot of people. So, in hopes to find out who this person was behind this account, and if they could help me in any way, I messaged them. I found out that they were actually a friend of the guy from the original accusations, and that they actually helped him create this thread. I also learned from them that the guy had not only had them help him, but a bunch of people help him write everything out. I also learned from them that the reason they decided to make things up and make up these accusations was because I had rejected them on Snapchat and was ignoring them. You can see him deciding to do that in these screenshots which were provided to me by the guy, and how he decided he would expose me and therefore also Jorge because I was not speaking to him anymore. I also want to quickly say that this friend gave me proof that they knew him by telling me his name, phone number, and then telling me other details that only he would know. I also realized myself that some of my friends who I've trusted and been friends with for about a year now actually helped this guy spread these lies by tweeting about it and sending messages to fans saying that they were true. I also learned that they were going around telling my other friends that they should not speak to me anymore and unfollow me, and that they would get angry with people if they were still speaking to me. So in that way, I would have no one I could explain myself to, and since everyone was unfollowing me, everyone else would be more convinced by the whole story. When I confronted one of these friends over a call and told them I was looking at legal action or was getting legal advice, they suddenly told me they didn't want to be a part of anything anymore and then blocked me. Honestly, I'm not saying any of this to shift the blame off of me to anyone else or just get rid of any blame at all. I just wanted to be honest with the whole situation and explain what was happening. It's also something I could have never predicted happening, not only because of this guy lying about his age and eventually lying to the whole internet, but also because I never realized how irresponsible I was being. I understand I still took part in something which ended up being wrong. It was my own decision and it should have never happened. I took part in it because, like I said, I felt like if I didn't, I would lose the person I loved. I felt pressured and like I had no other option. I know it's hard for many of you to understand what it's like to be in the situation I was in or feel what I felt, but I can assure you that it is very overwhelming. Either way, I'm not condoning my actions or excusing them because, like I said, even though I did feel obligated, it was my own decision and it was my own decision to take part. I understand it was wrong and, like I said, that it should have never happened, and I've regretted it and felt horribly about it every day since. I should have looked more into this person's age instead of just immediately believing them. I know I had no reason not to believe them, but looking back, that was not the right decision and I should have been more wary and more careful. I do realize also that when he was speaking to me sexually, it was my own fault for continuing to speak to him after realizing what he was trying to do with me. I should have taken responsibility and ended any conversation with him then and there instead of just continuing to be his friend. I should have been more wary of the situation going on, and I should have been the responsible one, which in that situation, I was not. Maybe he felt like he needed to lie to me because or else I wouldn't speak to him. Or maybe he felt like he needed to lie to the whole internet because he was just hurt and angry. But I want to reiterate that the person he portrayed me to be is not me. It is a lie. However, I do want to apologize again and say I'm sorry I didn't prevent this situation from happening. I should have been a stronger person and I should have been more aware of everything else going on. I shouldn't have let myself be put in this situation and then let it take control of me. And I just feel so horrible for everyone who I've hurt and who I've lost the trust of. And I want to take responsibility and say that I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. I really am. This situation doesn't represent me as a person at all. It only represents the situation I was in. I only want to put good into the world and continue to put good into the world and improve myself as a person. And I will make sure to work harder, so much harder, to show all of you that the person I was portrayed to be is just not who I am. I know a lot of you have been concerned for me and my well-being, and I want to let you all know that I have been receiving help professionally with my mental health, and I will continue to until I know I am a better person. Now, I'm going to get into speaking about the relationship I had with Jorge. A lot of rumors have been circulating the relationship I had with Jorge, and one of these rumors was that I cheated on him. I want to set the record straight right now and say that I never cheated on Jorge. He knows that, and that's all that matters. I know our relationship was very public, but that doesn't give anyone the right to make up these false accusations about it and make up these false rumors. Working out what I wanted to say in this video has really helped me come to terms with my feelings with Jorge. And as I already said in my Twitter statement, we are no longer together, but looking back on this situation and everything that's happened, it's just obvious that that's the best thing to happen. There was a lot of love in our relationship, which all of you guys saw and enjoyed through the videos we made. But looking back on everything that happened and this situation also, it's just obvious that it wasn't as perfect as I thought. I know it's hard for many of you to understand what it's like to be in a difficult or toxic relationship, but what Jorge and I had was not good for either of us. The pressure of having a public relationship and the stress it just puts on you is just so overwhelming, and I had no idea how to handle it, and I'm sure he didn't know as well. I only finally realized how everything really was based off of this situation and how everything played out. And so for that, I am thankful in a way. And like I said in my Twitter statement, I do still care about him because I know he has good in him, but he needs to work on himself, and I know that it's best for us to no longer be together and for us to go our separate ways and work on our issues individually. To end this video, I just want to talk about the different ways I plan on improving myself, changing myself, and what I am going to be doing from here on out. In my Twitter statement, I did mention how I have been dealing with a lot mentally in the past and how I did attempt. I have been getting better, but I still have a lot to work on. I've also seen a lot of people who have been saying that I mentioned it to guilt trip people, and I want to clarify right now and say that I would have never used something like that or mentioned something like that just to make people feel bad for me. The only reason I said it was because I felt like I owed everyone after this whole thing some truth and a real explanation for why it took me a couple days to respond and why I wasn't going to be strong enough to film a video straight away. I know a lot of you watching have probably been dealing or are recently struggling with dark thoughts just as I have. And I want to encourage you to check the link in the description and find someone in your country who you can talk to who can help you. I've also been getting, like I said, professional help, and that's really honestly helped me a lot, especially since it's something I've never had in the past. And I want to also encourage anyone who hasn't been getting any help to please go and talk to a professional because it really does help. I will continue to use my platform to spread a good and positive message as I've always tried to do. I will show all of you that I am learning and I am growing, and that, like I said, the person I was portrayed to be in this recent situation is just not who I am. I've already been talking to a lot of organizations and charities who I personally love the work of and who I know can use my platform to benefit them. I've also been taking the time to educate myself and know that after all the negativity that this situation has brought to the internet, that I should take a lot of time to put some good into the world. And I'm incredibly grateful to have the platform to do that. I know a lot of you are probably still disappointed or confused with everything going on, and I wanted to just let you know that please not to send any negativity or hate to the organizations I will be promoting or working with, because they're just trying to make a difference in the world, and I want to help them do that. I also want to remind all of you not to send any hate to not only Jorge, but to anyone else who I've mentioned or referred to in this video, because no one deserves hate. Everyone deserves the opportunity to grow, and I feel like they all can. And I just wanted in this video to be honest and put the truth out there so we can all move on from this, and so that I can move on with this with a positive headspace, not only for myself, but for everyone else as well. I hope you can all take the situation and learn from it just as I have, and know that you should not give in to people just because they're trying to make you do something, especially if you feel like it's wrong. And if you feel like you're being taken advantage of, please stand up for yourself. And if you're not strong enough to do it personally, look for someone who can help you do that. Also realize that relationships won't always be perfect, and that if you're struggling in one, please think over it and or talk to someone who can help you both figure things out or realize if you should even continue being together. Because I know if I had done that a long time ago, I would not be in this situation today. Also, before I end this video, I do want to say, I know in this situation there was a lot that was really messy, but as I've just proven now, the truth always does eventually come out. So, if you do see someone who's brave enough or strong enough to tell their story, please show your support for them, because there's so many true stories out there who go unbelieved and unheard. Finally, I know that there was a lot of misinformation going around and that it's easy to believe everything you see on the internet. I know it was probably also confusing because even I struggled to keep up with the amount of things people were saying about me and making up about me. And if I had seen those from an outside point of view, I wouldn't have liked me either. I don't blame any of you for getting convinced by the things you saw and then taking out your frustration on me through videos or comments. But I hope now that I've given you all the explanation that you definitely deserve and that the truth is out there, that you will learn to trust me and continue to see me as I grow and learn and try to better myself as a person. Thank you.